So what I'm doing here today is I know I just finished the front pads on this 2015 Mercedes Benz SL400. I ran into a slight problem. Nothing wrong with the car's braking performance, but when I come to a stop, and it's got to be a dead stop, even 2-3 miles an hour doesn't do this, but if I come to a 100% complete stop, 2 to 3 seconds before the car will come to a complete stop, it makes like a little high-pitched whine, and it's definitely coming from the brakes. The car never did this before, so I'm pretty sure something's going on with the pads and or the brakes that cause this noise. The strange thing is I've only driven it maybe 30 miles since the new pads went in, and it's started to die down some, so I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. If I had to take a guess, I'd say I probably think it's the pads, the new pads rubbing on the pins that they're basically guide the brake pads back and forth. That's my assumption. So I got this CRC brake quiet, disc brake quiet is what it's called. And in addition to that, I also got the CRC, the liquid version of disc brake quiet. Not endorsed by these guys. This is just what the AutoZone had when I went there. One of them, I've used a product like this before. I know you smear this on the back of the pads. If you have the time, let it dry is better. If not, you just stick them back in. But this helps the paste. I don't even know what they call this, but it's the red paste. I'm not quite sure how the aerosol works, but I'm going to give it a try. There are instructions. I did watch some videos and I did read a little bit, but you know, this says remove the pads, clean them. CRC makes another product called Brake Clean. I've used this to clean parts. This is a great solvent and great cleaner. Let's get into it, and away we go on shutting up my brakes. Away we go. One thing I want to cover real quick. From Amazon, I bought this. It's called a pin remover for Mercedes and Porsches. Previous video, I just used an old drill bit, and this thing hammered the pin out just fine. I have also bought the $15 Harbor Freight punch set for 15 bucks. And from what I can tell, it looks like the size that's going to be appropriate will be the 3/16 punch. Let's get to it. First thing we got to do, car's up, rotated the wheels so calipers got easier access, got my jack stand in, and I have my brick behind the rear tire. Safety is a very important thing, at least that's what I was taught. So first thing I'm going to do is slide out the wear sensor. Just give it a little tug. If yours is really, really taut, you can obviously use a pair of pliers. Just be careful with it. And then it slides out over here. Boom. Our wear sensor is now out. I want to test out my new pin removal tool from Amazon. And what's nice is, I don't know if you can see this in the camera, it's kind of like concave, so it actually fits over. The pin, this one, I'd have to kind of hold it to keep it centered, same with the drill bit. So let's try the Mercedes, well, it's not Mercedes, I said European car pin. So in she goes. As much as I wanted that to not lose contact, it still kind of did. But that's okay. Alright, so it did work. I got the first pin out. Now bottom pin, using the same thing. Alright, second pin is out. We now have both pins out. Now I need a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeters for this guy right here. I'm going to pause while I go get that. And we're back. I've got myself a 13 millimeter 6.3" drive socket for the center pin here. It's not too tight. Out comes the 1/2 inch bolt. Now I gotta hammer this big guy out, and that's actually kind of good because I have the big fatty pin. What size is big fatty? 3/8, so it's a 3/8 pin. Although it is a little bit long, look at that. But it's not in there too tight. Alright, our pin came out. There's our brake pad retention clip. He comes out to do this. Put it like that. And he's out. So there's the top pin. Brake pad should come right out. Just got a flat head here. And these pads usually come out pretty easy. Ugh. I spoke too soon. Not a terrible. Alright, so he's out. Got him out. There he is. Original Mercedes pad number 1 is out. Number 2 pad. Alright. There's official Mercedes pad number 2. Let's go brake lube them up. And we're going to try our CRC disc brake cleaner. So that guy comes off. I couldn't figure out exactly how much to use, so I'm going to start off with this. Alright, there's that. While the brake pad dries, I don't know how long does it say. Does it tell us how long? I'll read that in a second. You don't need to worry about that. I wanted to go over the actual sensors, right? This came with the OEM kit from Mercedes. I think you can get the part number there if it's not too blurry. From Amazon, this thing was like 20 bucks. So if you can see this, and this is brand new. That's what the plug looks like. If I can get the light to shine in there. The reason why I bring this up is this was quantity one of those from Amazon that said it would fit my car was $19. Then I saw these. There's the package and the QR code. 2 of these were $7. These are not complicated parts. There's no circuit board in these. This is the new one. I guess this was $3.50. So here they are both together. They both got the ridge on top for plugging in. Looks like their electronics on the inside are the same type plugs, and it looks like these ends, the sensor part, to me actually look the same. So why do they want $20 for this and $3.50, but you got to buy a pack of 2 for this? I don't know. We'll find out. At the end of the day, I just reused the original sensor. Lubed up, waiting for them to dry. So I guess I thought about it. If there is noise coming from the dust and everything else, maybe I should clean off the pins, which I didn't do last time. I know some of the other brake kits I saw, ironically the non-Mercedes kits, actually came with new pins and a new... Now this is just my cheapo wire brush. They cleaned up too. I mean, they're better than they were. I'm going to spray the pins. Well, what do you know? It's red. I didn't think that was going to happen. So this is just a red version of that other stuff. Oh, wow. So I guess I'll let those dry too. I thought this was going to be more like the brake clean. Didn't think it'd be red, so I'm not going to be spraying this all over the brake parts because it's going to make a mess. So that's not going to happen. Alright, so it just dawned on me, maybe I should clean off the clip too. Some of the kits I've seen, oh, by the way, I'm not sponsored by these CRC guys, just for the record. I'm not sponsored by anybody. But their tools are been around, I guess, for a minute. Fairly easy to get a hold of. Now, so I got the other stuff. Maybe I can put this to good use. I'll spray this guy with some of this. Hey, if anything, I know people paint these parts red or the calipers red to make it look cool. If it doesn't do anything else, I'll have nice red looking parts on the inside, right? Alright, I've given it like a good 20 minutes to dry. That's a little tacky, as are the pins, but the instructions say that can happen, so I'm not going to worry about the tackiness. The brake pads, they're tacky and wet too. Well, when I did this years ago, I don't even think we gave them any time to dry. Yeah, what I did do was I pushed back the pistons in the caliper, so that way when I slide them in, it all doesn't just slide off like when I slid them out. It gave myself a little more room. In order to do that, I used this type of piston separating tool. And the reason why I used this one, and I had to buy this one, this was the original tool I bought. And if the caliper is off the car, this is the better design, right? You ratchet this thing, and as you can see, it's ratcheting this, it comes out. The only problem I came into when I used this and the caliper was off the car, it didn't get wide enough. So what I had to do was I actually made these out of plywood, put a little magnet on there, and then these, I just put magnets on that. And these just kind of go in like that, and it gives me an extra amount of thickness, so now it'll actually push all 4 pistons out at the same time, right? And the crazy part is they give you extra spacers for longer piston calipers, but they don't give you a spacer for the wider ones. Not that this was hard to make. And then a friend of mine said the other thing I could have done was I could have just used the old pad, which is worn down a bunch. I could have used the old pad as a spacer too. So if you don't want to cut these, I guess with magnets, I could have used the old pad and done as well. I went to Home Depot and I got some of these neodymium magnets. They're pretty darn strong. Let me just save you the trouble. The refrigerator magnets are not strong enough. You need the neodymium ones. And if you are going to do the shortcut method of changing pads on this car, obviously this is the spreader you want, not the other type, because you don't get that much room. And I'll show you this on the car. There's no way, even at its most shallow setting, you just don't have that much room. You have maybe about a third of that amount of room when the caliper is on the car. And we'll get into that when I get over to the car. So I'm going to switch the camera back over to the vehicle now. Here are the pads after they've been all gooed up. Pins after the pins got sprayed. And of course the clip after the clip got sprayed. So we're all sprayed up now. Let's see how it goes back on the car. Alright, so we're back at the car. I've got my gooed up brake pads going in. This piston here has got to get pushed back in, right? And there's no way this caliper spreader is getting in there. Just look how thick that is. That's the smallest setting. This one, though, I can get in there. And that actually pushes it. Yeah, they're both back. So now I can put the second lubed up pad in. Oh, it slid right in. Alright. Both pads are in. Both pads have the lubed up back. Here's the clip. It roughly goes like that. Now I'm going to go get the pins. Put the pins in. So here are my freshly lubed pins. Just going to start them like that. Now what I have to do for this, I'm going to have to make sure they go through the holes in the pads, if you can see that. I think, let me zoom out a little. You can see there's like a hole in these brake pads. There's a hole there, and there's a hole there. Those holes, the pin needs to go through. And then after it goes through that, it needs to, well, actually, this gets done later, but that gets done there. This goes in, the clip goes in when I put the center pad back. So I'm just going to continue with these. And you can see as they're making progress, I'm going to have to lift it out a little bit. Come on, pad. There it is. Alright. It's important you catch on the other side, you catch the hole. So the same thing here at the bottom. You can see this one's out. So I got to just make sure it lines up. And then you can see they're kind of like peeking through. Let me turn the camera around. It's going to be a little bit warbly. But you can see over here, the pins are coming through, which is what I want, right? Come back over here. Or I can take the hammer. Just gently tap them. Top one I got to be a little more careful with, and the reason why I got to be more careful is the electronics. I now have this thing I bought from Amazon, which is also can be used as a shorter punch. What's cool about this is the indented part there. Maybe that'll stay. Yeah, it does. Oh yeah, so okay, so this tool is not going back. This guy will get hammered in here. What I got to make sure I do before he goes all the way through to the other side is the clip needs to go in as well. I don't know if you caught that. This thing is a little bit directional. One of the sides goes down where the other one goes up. It was fighting me the other way. This way it's like straight on. So, for who caught my screw up, the clip, when you put in the pads, you should probably do the clip too. Although the clip looks like it's fine now. Now I put in this bolt. And like I said before, there's an easy way to put this one in and there's not an easy way. If it resists a lot, it's probably backwards. Turn it around. See that? How much easier that was? I put that in by hand. Everything we've covered here today is the brake job for 2015. I have to do the back ones too. And from what I could tell at the brake, the way the pads look for the rear, doesn't look like that's going to be done like that. It looks like I'm going to actually have to take the calipers off of the rear. Here's my sensor. And make sure the points are clean. The little top piece here goes toward the top. It goes out like that. So it clicks in a little bit, and then I got to find the hole on the brake pad. You can see here, let me zoom it. These brake pads have a little indentation or cavity for you to be able to slide. So it literally slides in there, and there's a hole in the brake pad, and then it just pushes in. There's no tightening it down or anything. So there it is. There's my sensor. My pads are back in. My pins are all the way back in. Clip is in place underneath both pins. This is in and torqued down. Those are punched in all the way. We already put the tire back on.